Hi, Rachel. Already had someone there.
Oh, there you go. Cool. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Rachel, can I ask where you are? What country you're in? While we're waiting for anyone else who might show up.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what time it is for other people who normally dial into this.
Yeah, I think it's about midday in Europe at the moment.
Okay.
It's too late for the US. But we've had a couple of weekends where Europe haven't been able to watch. So, Can you hear? Okay, is my volume all right, or is it too loud or too low?
No, it's perfect.
Yeah, cool. All right. All right. Well, let's give it a couple of minutes. Hi, Alexa. I always wonder. Sometimes when people come on to the live streams, I'm not sure, some of the names I'm not familiar with. Maybe they're like following you on Instagram or your YouTube. Hi, Brady.
Yeah, I don't know if I recognize a lot of the names, to be honest. So I think same thing, even if, except for Gail, of course.
Yeah.
Gail.
I noticed Gail put a heart next to your name, Cherie. What's going on there?
I don't know.
I'm only joking. Rachel's from the UK, Cornwall. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, given that there's a few people here already, and Alexis from Serbia, cool. Wow. And I'm not sure how many more we'll get, but today's stream is a bit. I think we've deliberately left it a little bit loose, the topic, haven't we, Cherie?
Yeah.
But Cherie came up with a good talking point earlier in the week about maybe we should talk about how, like, a fragrance house that's impacted our taste, our wardrobe to some extent, and it doesn't necessarily have to be whatever we have the most of in our collection. Like I've picked a house that I'm going to talk about that I've got a few bottles, but it's not the biggest representation in my collection, and you might end up talking about something completely different to why I've chosen my house. So
yeah.
Do you want me to kick off today?
Yes, please do.
All right. Okay, so I thought about during the week the fragrance house that has had the biggest impact, probably on my taste more than anything else, and also I think I look at this house and I do maybe unconsciously compare all other houses to it and see how they do things differently and so on and so forth. Okay, so I won't keep everyone in suspense.
Now I'm really dying to know.
No, but the house I chose is Serge Lutang. Okay. So I own 5 of these, like a regular rectangle bottle line, and I'll tell you why I chose this house for a few reasons. When I was starting to try a few niche samples, I was getting decants and samples. Serge was one of the ones that would come up when people would talk about, if you want. All right, what I'm trying to say is they seem to have a few very, very highly regarded scents for different genres or types. For instance, right, we talk about ambers, and you can't have a discussion about amber without mentioning Ombre Sultan, right?
Absolutely.
When you talk about sandalwoods, they probably don't have. I mean, you you hear about things like Santal de Mysore, and then the more common and popular Santal Majuscule. I haven't got these ones, but then for jasmine, people talk about Saracens, and for iris silver mist is always mentioned. Musks, you got musk Kubla Khan. The list goes on. Like, I just think that the other thing I love about Serge Lutens is, even though they basically have used the same perfumer all the way through, Christopher Sheldrake, I still don't recognize a style there. Like, I think that there are some perfumes like Santal Majuscule that shares a similar base with some of the other perfumes in their line, but I think they've done an amazing job of creating really different scents, but making them just all quality. And I don't personally like a lot of them. I love the ones that I have, and I want to get a few more. Like, I recently got samples of El Atarine and Cure Moresque as well. So there's a whole bunch that I haven't even tried that I just know I'm going to love when I do try them.
Yeah.
And so they're a couple of the reasons why I picked this house. But also aesthetically, like, I don't go in much for fancy bottles and stuff like that. I actually really like the aesthetic of their brand, the way they present. Like, I actually really love these simple rectangle.
Me too. I adore them. I think
bottles.
They're fantastic.
And I do, it's a little thing, but you know what I also love? The fact that they give you screw-on atomizers.
Yes, so you can decant them easily.
Yeah, if you want to decant, you just unscrew it and use a pipette, and away you go. So yeah, that's what. The way that this house has impacted me is that I look at price point as well with Serge. They're not cheap, but they're also not super expensive. They have some lines that are more expensive than these ones. But I just think for what you get and the variety that you get, like, I think they've got something to offer nearly every perfume lover. Like, I probably I don't know. I'm probably going to eat my words now, but there's probably not someone I've met in perfume circles that doesn't really like at least one Serge Lutens.
Absolutely.
So I'll mention other houses, but maybe I'll let you speak now and talk about yours.
Well, I'm very glad that I didn't go with my first choice, certainly, because otherwise we would have been talking about the same thing. Because when I
oops, sorry.
Oh, are they okay?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good. The reason so what inspired me to come up with that topic was because there's that tag going around at the moment, which you just did a video for, and I think Eve just did one too, of about your perfume collection, and there were some really good questions in that, and it really did sort of get me thinking. And initially when I first thought about what I was going to pick for tonight, I was going to go with Serge as well, because I think those fragrances have had a really big impact on how I look at fragrance, and how I, before it was kind of, I would, if I didn't like a fragrance straight off the bat, or if it was really complicated, I didn't really give fragrances time. I would go and sniff them at the counter or whatever, and if I liked it, I would, I might get it or something. But Serge, I think, was what kind of the house that kind of made me change my approach in that regard, and to really give it a bit of time. And because they are, a lot of them are very complex fragrances, but I went with a really obvious one. tonight, and I went with Guerlain because,
Mm-hmm.
and look, there was so many that I could have picked. Obviously, same for you, but the reason I picked Guerlain is because, I was buying Guerlain fragrances before I was buying a lot of other houses. I mean, Chanel may be accepted. I think I had a couple of Chanel fragrances before I started really getting into the Guerlain fragrances. But the Guerlain house has, because they've been around for such a long time and because they have such a massive range, they have pretty much something for everybody, but they represent so many different styles and types of perfumery and ages of perfumery. So, when I smelled Shalimar, I just loved it. Actually, I didn't like it at first. I sprayed it on and then I walked away, and it wasn't, I was walking through the department store, and I think it was probably about half an hour later, I smelled my wrist again and went, oh my God, that's amazing. But it didn't hit me straight away. When I first sprayed it on, I thought, because it was like nothing I'd ever smelled before, really. I'd never really smelled vintage fragrances. So I think I chose Guerlain because of that, because I was able to explore so many different types of perfumes, just by looking at one house and going to the department store without having to go somewhere too fancy or to go up that price bracket and buy niche, even though they have their fancy lines as well, which I never even looked at for the longest time, just because I couldn't afford them. I probably still can't really afford them, but I buy them anyway. So yeah, I think and obviously the history and I liked. I mean, I like how I understand why they're standardizing all their bottles now, and it does kind of look nice on a shelf and what have you, but I did like the fact that they had all these really different bottle styles and they all looked really old school and very elegant. And so I mean, not that I buy things for the bottle, but
you're right. Guerlain is almost like a living, like a perfume version of a history of perfume, and for instance, the flacons they use for different perfumes are so iconic that you instantly recognize a Shalimar bottle, a Mitsuko bottle, and even the men's ones that came like in the mid 20th century. I had the same experience with Habit Rouge that you had with Shalimar. I didn't like it initially, but for whatever reason, I kept going back to try and it was almost like I don't know, it like slowly hypnotized me, and I thought, oh yeah, actually I do like it. But if I had chosen this based on most bottles in my collection, it would have been Guerlain as well. But also have the advantage of being around for 150 years or whatever it is. So it would kind of make sense. I really do like, but I really do like that juxtaposition between such an old house like Guerlain and a relatively modern house like Serge Lutens. But when you were talking about it then, and you mentioned Guerlain and then you said you maybe Chanel when you were first starting out, I'm going to make a very broad sweeping generalization here, right? I wonder, I'm very curious now when guys are starting out in like collecting perfumes and getting into perfume, I've got this thing in my head where they're more likely to lean towards, like if they're going designer, lean towards a house like Christian Dior or even Yves Saint Laurent before getting into niche and getting into Creed and Amouage. And whereas generally speaking, I need to emphasize some generalizing. Women are more likely to go Guerlain and Chanel, and then whatever niche they get into. And it's almost like guys come to Chanel and Guerlain like kind of later, like find. And that, I mean, I'm basing that on what actually happened to me. And so when I started to buy more bottles, I did have a lot of Dior's for a while, but the love, there were a couple of big loves, and then just these. I used to own a bottle of Sauvage, which I don't have anymore, just because when I started out, I got it because everyone was talking about it, and it kind of smelled, and it did smell good on. I thought it smelled good on me as well, but then as I was trying other stuff, you kind of either almost subconsciously convince yourself that it's crap, or it really is crap.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's crap, but it's just not, you just grew out of it, obviously. But I will say that my first luxury house that, stepping up from, say, celebrity fragrances or, cheapy kind of fragrances, my first luxury house that I ever bought was Bulgari. So before I even bought a Chanel, I had Bulgari fragrances. And I remember very distinctly being in Sydney as a late teen, pre-20, but only just, and going up to the Bulgari store. I didn't go into I don't think they had a counter in the department store at the time, or they did, but the one that I wanted, they didn't have. So I had to go to the actual store, and it was the first time I'd ever been to one of the luxury stores, and where you have to ring the bell and wait for them to open the door.
Oh, wow.
It was really off-putting, and I felt so out of place. But I walked away with a little bottle of the what's it called? The green tea one. So the extreme.
It's really interesting that you say that, because about 21 years ago, I also bought. I didn't know it at the time. That I didn't know that Bulgari was. I actually had never heard of Bulgari, but 21 years ago, for those of you who don't live in Australia, David Jones is one of the main department stores in Australia, and they were exclusively selling Bulgari Black, right? So the little the black round bottle, but it had only been released then, and back then this was like an exclusive only to David Jones, and it was the first one I bought as well. Like before that, I'd bought Jean Paul Gaultier or YSL Jazz or whatever, but this is the first, like, well, it almost seemed like what I would consider as niche now back then, because I'd never heard of Bulgari before, and this crazy looking bottle, and the smell was amazing, and I mean I still love it, but now you can find it for $20 at the Chemist Warehouse.
I know. I remember actually really sort of handing over the money and going, oh, am I really spending this much on a bottle of perfume? And now, I mean, you can't get that one anymore, but you can get the other green tea version of it. And, again, same as you can probably get it for $20 or $30. It's very upsetting.
So, they've been, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, the whole evolution of, just in my lifetime, and I'm a relative newcomer compared to other people who've been collecting for years. Like I think Gail, who's on, has got some great vintage bottles, and she's probably been collecting for a long time as well. But it just seems like the last 10 or 20, 10 years, things have changed so much. Like, designers have in general become just like really, your entry level cheaper stuff. I mean, Chanel have kind of maintained their quality, I guess, to an extent, and they've got really tight control on the pricing of their products as well. So they never, buying a Chanel never feels like you're buying something cheap, even though it might smell cheap, but now, because there's so many, like especially in Australia compared to other countries, we're suddenly getting all these niche brands in now that are available for us to test, and it's kind of like, I mean, it's exciting, but it's a bit overwhelming at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. There's just a lot. It's just generally very overwhelming, particularly if you want to keep up with what all the new stuff coming out. So
what you were saying that you had almost thought about talking about Serge Lutens. What's your favorite Serge?
Santal Majuscule,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's the one. Every time I open that cupboard, I always smell it out of the bottle, even if I don't spray it. But I can't. I look at it and I just have to pick it up and smell it. I just love it so much. It's an amazing fragrance, and I didn't not like it when I first sprayed it. When I first uncovered it, which wasn't that long ago for me, actually. I think it was only last year that I bought that bottle, and before that, I sort of had, Nuit de cellophane and, that sort of thing. So they were pretty sort of fruity, florally type stuff. But yeah, that's just something about that fragrance. I like Ombre Sultan as well, but I find that there's like a herbaceous aspect to it that's really dusty, and I kind of really I like it, but I have to be in the mood for it. Whereas Santal Majuscule, if I don't know what to wear, I could always put that on any day and I'd be happy, love it.
There's a couple of comments. I know that earlier, like Rich Mitch was saying that Serge, Tom Ford. See, Tom Ford, when I first got into perfume, was like the price. It's really interesting how the mystique of some brands has disappeared when you start collecting or buying more fragrances. I used to think there was a point in time where I used to think everything in the Tom Ford private blend line was amazing. But then, everything that came out originally was, and then like the last few releases that they've done have been like really disappointing, and I just feel like they're really, they're overpriced because it's Tom Ford, and he can kind of do that, but I just can't get onto that bandwagon anymore.
I was the opposite with Tom Ford. I disliked them with a passion when they first came out. And I think I've told this story before, I think on one of our lives, where one of my ex-boyfriends bought me a bottle of Black Orchid, and I think I spritzed it once and went, no, and that just sat on the counter for years until we broke up, and then I got rid of it. I gave it away, and now I love it, so I've bought it again. But I was a really late comer to Tom Ford. I also had a bottle of Shanghai Lily, which was given to me as a gift, and I didn't really quite appreciate that either. So I gave it to my mother, and she consequently recently gave it back to me because she doesn't wear it. And it was sitting on her dresser, and her dresser's near the sun. And I went, please don't put that there. So that, you can't even get it anymore. You can actually. I think somebody posted in one of the Facebook groups today that they were going for $200 in the Estee Lauder.
Is it Shanghai Lily discontinued?
Yeah, it was discontinued a while ago. So they're obviously selling off all their backlog. And if I was in Sydney right now, I probably would be buying another bottle, but because I really quite like it now. But I gave it to my mother because she really likes Youth Dew, and they don't smell the same, but they have a similar kind of feel. So I thought she might like it, but she always just wears a Youth Dew. So there's no swaying her from that path.
Speaking of which, I haven't actually worn it properly, but I've noticed that it's pretty cheap here at the moment, Youth Dew, and I almost bought it just out of curiosity to see what it smelled like. Does it remind you of anything else other than Shanghai Lily?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's very heady and very overpowering. I don't know, maybe I'm so overexposed to it. And my mother has been wearing that since I was a baby. So I just associate that smell with her. But I don't think I've come across anything else that smells or that makes me think of it. So
is there so going back to Guerlain, is there currently a guirlande on your wish list that for whatever reason you haven't bought yet?
Interestingly, yes. It's Rose Barbere, and actually there's a couple. There's a couple from the Aqua Allegoria line that I'd really like to get as well. I haven't actually bought any of the Aqua Allegoria line because the bottles are so big. I just think
they only come in one size, don't they? So like
they do, yeah,
125
mils or something. So, or 100. I don't know if it's 100 now. They might have changed the bottle size, but
so
they're big bottles.
What about the theory though that they're not overly expensive? The Aqua Allegoria line, are they? Like they're not too expensive compared to.
No, they're not super expensive. I think they're about $150, which is not bad if you're getting 125 mils. So
but also like what the other thing is apparently a lot of them don't have great longevity anyway. So if you get a big bottle, at least you can spray a few times a day.
That's true. Yeah, it's I guess that's part of the reasoning behind it. But going back to the Rose Barbere, I tried that ages ago, but I didn't like rose, so at the time I was very anti-rose, and so I spritzed it and went nah. Anyway, I went in there to the department store the other day because the sales assistant who was there, I know her quite well now, and she was celebrating her 40 years working in that department store, not necessarily at the Guerlain counter, but just so I went in to say congratulations and say hi. And so she pulled out all of the La Martière fragrances that they had, which weren't even on the shelf because a lot of them they don't have in stock. And she just pulled them all out of the vault for me, and we just had a bit of a spritz. And she put the Rose Barbere on me, and I went, she pulled it out, and I went, nah, I don't like that one. And anyway, so she, as she normally does, she just spritzed it on me anyway. And I came home and I was going, which one was that? Which one was whatever it is that I'm smelling? Because I had sprayed a few. Yeah. And it turned out to be the Rose Barbere. It was definitely a rose.
It definitely was. Okay. All right.
So, but the Clear Beluga is nice too.
Yeah, I actually liked I really liked the Bois d'Armenie. I think it's called. Yeah, that was really nice.
Nice too.
So Rachel and Raj both are saying that you can get them in different sizes, so you might have to go online.
Okay.
Maybe in stores they're only selling the 125 mil. So the 10 mils must be just like a travel sprayer or something. That's good to know, actually.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple I might have my eye on for the summer when it gets warmer.
Nice.
I do like.
Which ones have you got your eye on?
Well, I do like the sound of Erba Fresca, just as a really nice fresh one, and Pampaloon as well. So
nice.
Let's see if anyone has any questions. So I'll ask myself about what would be on my wish list from Serge Lutens. I think I had plans for when I eventually go to Europe, and specifically to their store in Paris, because there's some stuff you can't find here. You could probably order it online.
So many. Yeah. We get hardly anything here in that line. I mean, I never knew how much they had until I went online and looked, and I thought, I've never even heard of these. So
yeah, I really would like some Fumerie Turk, I think you pronounce it, which is like, from the sounds of it, smells amazing. But I've only ever smelled it once, and it was really, really good, like the tobacco and dried fruits and spices and all that kind of thing.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Let's see. Yeah,
I'm keen to. Have you tried à la nuit?
From Serge? Is that the jasmine one? I think Eve's got that, hasn't she?
I think she might have. I think she talked about it a couple of videos ago.
I haven't smelt it, no.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. I've heard a few people talk about it recently. It's popped up on a few lists here and there, and I was sort of going, maybe I should check that out. But I don't think I've ever seen it over here. So I don't really want to blind buy it.
So question for everyone watching, just to have some audience participation. I'm gonna steal Christopher's question or comment. What's a perfume that you previously disliked? And you have to have probably not just gone, oh, it's all right, like actually disliked, but then came to like again, and even may have bought a bottle. I've mentioned this, in other places. The first time I smelled Tom Ford's Oud Wood, I must have smelled an original one because I'll tell you why. The first time I smelled it, I had this spritz on the back of my hand for 24 hours, and as it happens, whenever you don't like something, you can't scrub it off, right?
Can't get it off.
And to me, it just smelled like the inside of an old used coffin, right? Not that I know what that smells like, but it just smelled like death wood. It should have been called, right? There was something not putrid about it, but just, I don't know. It had, and it was probably because it was the first time I'd smelled anything approximating oud, even though this is probably synthetic or something like that. So it was like a real assault to my nose, right? So I sprayed that on, and 24 hours later, after a shower, I could still smell it, right? I thought, oh my God, how is this even sold? Who would wear it, right? And then like a year or so later, I was more into perfume, and I like I thought I've got to like smell it again just to see if it's the same. And I ended up not buying a bottle, but I did buy a decant of it, and I wore it. But it must have been reformulated because it was a lot weaker second time around. And after that, I always thought it was just like a really nice, pleasant, woody smell. And it's somehow something in my brain changed where I went from this smells like death to this smells like really, really nice.
Well, nobody wants to smell like death. Yeah.
No.
Nice. Well, I think I've smelled, I can't remember the last time I smelled, it was ages ago I smelled oud wood, but I don't think I've smelled the original formulation because it didn't smell that barnyardy to me, or that skanky. So I think I kind of liked it, actually. It's very woody now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really. The last time I smelled it, it's just a really nice, almost sweet wood. I get. I'm assuming it's the rosewood because there is this kind of sweet, like almost floral woody note that runs right through it. It's like less oud. I don't get. It supposedly has some cardamom. I think there's cardamom listed in my notes, but I didn't really get much of that at all.
Yeah.
So Rachel's saying that you have to love jasmine for a la nuit. So it sounds like it's a
could be right up my alley.
Yeah. And Kravis was saying, Kravis 123 was saying Villoresi. I like Villoresi as well. I've got a bottle of Incensi, and I would like a bottle of Piper Nigrum. When I was in Italy last year, I spent like a morning at their flagship store smelling everything, and it's just like really lots of really nice stuff.
How long do you think, how long did you last smelling lots of Serge Lutens fragrances? Because I mean, I love them, but they're quite big, right? So I wonder how long was it before your nose gave out, do you think?
Well, whenever I go to Mecca, which is where they sell Serge Lutens here, I only ever set out to smell no more than 2 at a time. So I'll have it in my head which ones I want to smell.
Yeah.
Because the first time I smelled Ombre Sultan, I basically sprayed that on one hand, and I sprayed Shogi on my other hand, and then I went home. So I was taking the train home, and the whole train trip I was doing this, right, all the way back home. And I really loved Shogi like that was the one I was leaning towards. But so, like slowly, I kept going back to Ombre Sultan, and it was lasting longer on my skin, and it was developing more. Whereas Shogi was more linear, and it kind of just ended up pulling me in a bit. So Christopher, his was Polo Supreme Oud. Hated it. Gave sample. Yeah. Okay. And I take it you love it. You love it now, Christopher. I haven't smelled. You know, I haven't smelled. I lie. I think I smelled Polo Red or Blue. I can't remember, but I've completely sort of passed by the Polo line.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I've smelled any of them either.
Do they even make stuff? Ralph Lauren makes stuff for women, so the Polo would just be the men's line.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, of course it's Ralph Lauren. That's right. So yeah, I do have one Ralph Lauren fragrance.
So Raoul says he loves most vetiver fragrances, but Guerlain's vetiver at first was one I couldn't stand.
Interesting.
Oh, you're gonna have alginate. Oh, right. Is that stuff that you rinse your mouth out with? Do you know what it is, Cherie?
I should know.
Yeah. Raoul, I was very late to Guerlain's vetiver. Like it was it was the most recent bottle I bought. It took me a long time.
Do you have vetiver Oriental from?
I do.
Okay. Has it been?
Oh no, hang on. I'm holding up Santal Magic. I don't think so because
okay.
you can
I
still
never see it.
You can still buy it in Melbourne, Mecca.
Oh, okay. In the Brisbane, maybe that's just the CBD one, but I went in there.
Okay.
The last few times I've been in there, they haven't had it. So I might need to go to a different store.
I might spray some on now, actually.
Do that. Oh, what was your scent of the night? Did you have one? I'm
wearing my probably second favorite Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and it's Lumiere Noir Port Homme.
Oh, nice. That's the patchouli one, right?
Patchouli and rose, yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I get more patchouli than rose. Oh, Vetiver Oriental is amazing.
I love it when
I still haven't reviewed that yet, actually.
No, I don't think you have, because I think I went looking for your views on it because I haven't smelled it yet. I'm really keen to smell it. I love vetiver. In fact, that's probably why I didn't really like Tom Ford to start with, because I was so into, light sort of greenish scents and, the Vetiver Fatale by Atelier Cologne and the green tea scents and what's the stuff. So they were probably just, too much powerhouse.
Vetiver Oriental, without going into too much detail, is kind of like no other well-known vetivers that I've smelled out there. Like it's very different. There's vetiver here, but it's I'm gonna have trouble describing it when I'm trying to review it. That's probably why I've been putting it off. But whatever is in here is magic. Guerlain's
Royale. I was the same actually with that one. I don't know if I like it again yet.
But am I right? My impression of that Guerlain line, right? So that's Santal Royale, and there is I've got Bois Mysterieux. There is what else is
the
there?
New one, the Patchouli Ardent.
And I saw Raj's review of Patchouli Ardent, but they all seem, the names of these particular fragrance are kind of almost a little bit misleading, because I know, for instance, my one Bois Mysterieux, because there's Bois in the title, you would imagine it's very woody and stuff like that, and in fact, it's actually really spicy and leathery, and there is like oud in there, I guess, as well. But like, am I right in thinking that Santal Royale is more of a rose, or am I thinking of something else?
Could be. That could be why I didn't like it when I smelled it a few years ago. And I haven't smelled it since. So, but a lot of people have been talking about it, and I have been thinking I might revisit that one just because I'd be interested to know if I now like it. do you prefer the old or the new Surge bottles?
Well, this is the oldest one I've got, but that's still not the Palais Royal emblem there. That's still the kind of new emblem. And now you get these long black ones. It's not that I mind this. I don't like the font they're using for these ones, but I do like that one. There's something kind of classic about them.
Yeah, me too. I think I like the older ones better, but I guess I don't. I mean, I'm glad they didn't change the bottle. The bottle is still the same.
Yeah.
So
yeah, same.
I don't really mind. I've got another one. So I've already talked about Black Orchid as one that I hated and then I liked. But the other one, most notable and most recent that I've turned around on is Chanel No. 5.
So you like it now?
I do, but not the EDP. So it's going to be the Parfum or the Eau de Toilette.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I still don't like the EDP. I've been wearing the Parfum and the Eau de Toilette for a few months now, and I love them. But every time I go in there, I smell the EDP, and I still just can't do it. Don't like it.
Do you watch Bois de Jasmine's YouTube channel?
I haven't seen a couple. I've missed a couple recently, but
I think her most recent one, she was talking about, classic vintage old-fashioned fragrances and what they all mean and how it's basically a matter of how you perceive something. But she was talking about, one of the ones that she loves was Chanel No. 22, and she made a point of saying it's her favorite Chanel. She much prefers it to Chanel No. 5. So it's I like hearing those like little like people's tastes. Yes, everyone knows Chanel No. 5's a classic, legendary perfume, but it's nice hearing that not everybody loves those perfumes.
Yeah. Well, 22. I actually just bought 22 last week. I went shopping with Rosie in town, and it's beautiful. It's got a lot more punch than the Chanel. I think Chanel No. 5 is a lot more airier. Maybe not the EDP, but definitely the Parfum and the Eau de Toilette a lot airier, sort of sparkly aldehydes, whereas 22 isn't as sparkly. It's still got that soapy feel, but it's a lot denser, I think. Yeah. And it does feel more, it just smells more vintage, I think, than the Chanel No. 5, even though that's vintage.
Yeah. Raoul, did you see that comment explaining what alginate was?
No, I missed it. Sorry.
I'll just put it back up. No, that's all right. Oh, right. Okay. It's to make, yeah. Okay. I can't remember what that tastes like, but I've definitely had that done in my mouth. Rachel, I don't know. I haven't smelt Mona Dior's vetiver. I'm not sure. Cherie, did you get a sample of that by any chance?
I haven't checked the box, but I'm going to a thing tomorrow and somebody's bringing a sample of that for me so I can smell it. So I don't think the vetiver was in the box of samples.
What I'll do, Rachel, is I'll just quickly have a look at what's listed in the notes of Vetiver Oriental, because there's supposed to be some kind of chocolate note in here, but I never ever smell it. But it's probably contributing to the sweetness. So main notes, according to Fragrantica, right, is vetiver. There is dark chocolate. There's an amber accord. They've also listed oak moss, guaiac wood, iris, sandalwood, musk, and ladanum. And what I mainly get is vetiver, but it's like equal measure vetiver, amber, and probably musk. And there's a hint of iris as well. So that's why it's unusual for a vetiver. It's actually like really warm vetiver as opposed to a bright, earthy kind of thing. It's a very smooth vetiver, but it's such an addictive kind of accord that they've created. And yeah, go on, Cherie.
No, finish your thought. Sorry, I thought you were.
Oh, I was just going to say, even though I said earlier that Serge Lutens I can't detect a style. But having said that, when you smell a bit of an Oriental, you go, oh yeah, that's like so Serge Lutens. You know?
Well, you did say you would eat your words at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
But is it dark? Is it a dark vetiver rather? I mean, or is it still kind of light?
I wouldn't describe it as dark. I would describe it as a warm vetiver, which is a different thing for me. There is a brightness about it, but it's warm at the same time.
Yeah.
There's no coldness. There's no. I would never use the word fresh to describe it, or zesty or citrusy, and it's also not earthy like other vetivers can be. It's like a very refined vetiver. If anything, the vetiver is kind of brightening the warmer, like amber and musk and sandalwood, where it's kind of stopping it from getting too creamy and gooey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So let's have a look. Yeah. So Samuel's saying that those absolute line names are a bit misleading. What? So Christopher wants to know, what house do you wish you knew better or could try more from? Can you think of anything off the top of your head, Cherie?
Yeah. Well, I just received this week. I bought a secondhand bottle of Bengal Rouge, and that's definitely a house. I mean, I've been wanting to try them for so long, and finally, but I refused to pay $18 for a 1.5 ml sample, which is what the LKNU, the perfumery, and I think, are they based in Melbourne?
$18. Really?
So, yep. So I've been waiting, and then I saw that a bottle was quite nicely discounted on a Facebook group recently, so I just picked it up. And it was a blind buy, and I was thinking, I was really sweating too, because it was probably the most expensive blind buy I've ever done, and I loved it. So
all right, so yeah, okay, when we eventually meet up, if you can let me smell Bengal Rouge, and you can smell my bottle of Salome.
Nice. Okay, done.
So yeah, for me, Christopher, I guess I would. So one that I'm not as familiar with. It's not that I'm not familiar with them, but maybe I wouldn't mind a whole discovery set for Frederic Malle, so I can actually test them properly and wear them properly. I managed to have a couple of samples the other day of ones that I liked on strip. So if I end up getting a bottle of Frederic Malle, I've kind of narrowed it down to 2 or 3 at this point. but I still don't know which ones they're going to be. I'm just trying to think if there's any other houses.
I mean, are we talking big houses that are really well known, or are we talking? Because I picked a really kind of niche one, but another one is for me is De Cedar. I haven't tried anything from the De Cedar line, but I'm really curious about them, and I love their bottles. So again, but they're quite big bottles. So again, I don't know if I'd want to buy a full one, but
yeah.
Actually, this sort of came up. We kind of touched on this in the live last week with Eve, and we were saying what houses had we not experienced or something. And during the week, I was coming across loads. So at the time, I couldn't think of any, and I was thinking of all these, really popular, sort of well-known houses. I mean, I haven't even really explored Yves Saint Laurent very much myself. I haven't tried. I haven't tried L'Homme. I haven't tried Cinema. So I don't know. There's just so many things to try.
Yeah. Look, if there's some designer houses I haven't tried, I probably like if I can try. Like, there's lots of niche houses I'd like to try. Look, if I think about it later on in this stream, I'll let you know, because right now I can't. So Rachel, are you referring to Vetiver Oriental when you say it reminds you of Miller Harris? See, Miller Harris is a house I've never
Me
tried.
too. Mm-hmm.
Molinard, Raoul, have you tried much Molinard, Cherie? I've tried a few now.
Only Habanita, and somebody was talking about lavande on Instagram the other day, and that's one that I've been really curious to try.
Yeah, they've got a whole line that are named after the main ingredient. Like, they've got
the purple ones,
the purple ones, and then they make an intense version in a pink bottle as well.
Oh, okay, I did not know.
Okay. So Rachel was referring to that Mona Diorio vetiver. Okay. I would like to try, now that I've tried a couple, I want to explore all the Nikolai I can get my hands on.
Tell me about it. I know.
Yeah.
There's so many. I went back onto their website the other day, and just a couple of days ago, and I was thinking, oh, there's just so many. Fragrance du Bois, yeah, I would like to at least have a chance to smell them, spy and mash, but I can't.
You can pay $20 for a sample here now, Cherie.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So
So Christopher Amouage, I've tried several Amouage, and zoologists, but Arige Lador and Bortnikov are ones I've only tried one or two of as well. What puts me off about Arige Lador and Bortnikov is not necessarily their prices, but from what I understand, that they make small batches, and so if you don't get a chance to try something, it's a very good chance by the time you do, they don't make it anymore. That's my understanding.
Okay.
And it's because apparently they use hard to get materials, and if they don't get them, they won't make the perfume. So they'll make a bunch of bottles, sell them, and they go for like a pretty penny as well.
Yeah. I have a sample of the Arige Lador Russian oud. Yes. I'm definitely not. I'm a woody oud person. I like the refined, clean woody ouds, but I don't like. I just can't do.
Isn't it funny how there are some like type? It's not a type, but I find it amazing how some people just like really love that kind of smell, and because it's just their taste and they love it. But isn't it amazing how someone can love to smell like that, but like
yeah, but it might perform differently on their skin. It might not be quite so poopy on them.
That's actually that puts another question in my head. Maybe I've already asked this in other streams, so I'm probably now repeating myself. Have you ever had a perfume that you don't like to wear, right? Or you just didn't like on yourself, but then you smelled it on someone else and it smelled amazing?
Yes. Oud Ispahan by Christian Dior.
Have I asked you this already, this question?
No, I don't think so. I don't think this specific question.
Yeah.
I might have used this example before. It smells beautiful on my friend Emma, right? It smells like roses, and there's just a hint of depth to it, and it's just really lovely.
Yeah.
On me, it smells like poop, and you don't get any rose. And I sprayed it on in the store on my hand because I was thinking, oh, I'm sure I'm going to love it because I'm really into rose now. Spritz. And I had to go sit next to Matt a couple of hours later, and he's going, what are you wearing? Oh, I think that he said something stinks here. Like, has somebody pooped here? And I
Oh no.
me. I said, can't you smell any rose? He said, no.
Oh.
And of course, as you say, you can't wash it off. Even though
Yeah,
every
of
other
course.
Christian Dior, Maison Christian Dior one, everyone complains they don't last long enough, but that thing stayed on for the whole day.
I think Oud Isfahan is one that is like everyone universally says it just like it lasts and lasts and lasts. Oh, yeah. Well, Raul's comment. I don't think you're alone there, but then I also understand, particularly perfumers who say, like, I do get how the tiniest amount can. I think it's how I guess that's the art of perfumery, like being able to use this stuff that would stink in isolation to enhance other notes in a perfume. Like that, I guess that's why they've been using musks and civets and castoreum for ages and ages, not because necessarily you're going to smell like shit or piss, but because those things like make a rose smell amazing, or give an edge to a woody note, or whatever it might be. I think it's like an artist, a painter who knows how to use just the right mix colors to get the right shade of gray that they want to get. But like, you're right. Like, who does want to smell like poo? Like, unless you still wear nappies, or I don't know. Yeah, Christopher, there's like mind-boggling variations in oud. Like I was lucky enough to get to smell a couple of different real oud oils, and even the differences between them, like there are differences in where oud comes from and how it's like extracted, and it actually affects the smell. And then once it's on your skin, it develops. It starts off sweet, then pooey, then floral, then leathery. Like it just changes so much. Yeah. Also, have you ever smelled leather oud, Cherie?
No, I think I decided after that I wasn't going to try any more oud ones from that line.
Yeah, a few years ago, when my son, like, he's 13, he's nearly 13 now, and he was about 9 years old at the time. He did a video with me, and I just got him to blind smell some stuff, and we mainly smelled like some Creeds, but then I had a sample of leather oud from Dior, and he just said it smelled like poo, and like we ended up calling it leather poo.
Actually, I've heard that a few times about that particular one, though. I think, in comparison to, say, the Oud Isfahan, which a lot of people actually really love, a lot of people do say that the leather oud is just pretty out there. So
it is. Like I found it, like when the couple of times I tried it, I found it really difficult. I felt really uncomfortable wearing it. Like I could appreciate what it was, but I just didn't feel comfortable. Like I was self-conscious looking around to see if anyone thought I'd had gastro or something. Yeah, I had that experience with something a bit less offensive, but Paco Rabanne Invictus, like I used to have a bottle of it, but after a few wears, like it just became very synthetic and like cloying, and it kind of made me get headaches after a while. So I just got rid of my bottle, and then months and months later, I was at a family gathering, and I was talking to my cousin, and I said, "Well, whatever you're wearing smells really good." And it didn't smell like anything amazing or unique. It just smelled really good, like a really pleasant smell. And I suddenly got this sense of why things are called crowd pleasers, because they just like, you know, like I let me smell more of you, you know. And he was bloody wearing Invictus, like.
Yep, that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. I think if I think about my, you know, all the perfumes that I've got and the ones that I like to wear because I like the smell of them and I like how they develop on my skin, they're not generally the ones that other people are going to notice or compliment me on.
Yeah.
Not that I get many compliments anyway, but I do get a couple here and there. Well, people will ask, "What are you wearing?" and "Oh, what is it? You know, what smells good?" And you'll be like, "Okay, it's me." But it's usually the really mainstream, sort of easy reach type ones, I guess.
Yeah. Hi, Jim. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Jim.
You might have caught us at the tail end of our stream, though. I'm happy to stay on for a bit longer in case anyone wants to ask something. But I thought, and we haven't confirmed a date or time yet, but I just wanted to let everyone know who's watching or who watched this stream during the week. Cherie and Eve and I are talking about doing an actual live review on a stream. So we've all chosen a perfume that we're all going to test, and then kind of, I think the idea is we come together here and we just basically all give our review on it live, which will be fun and interesting because I've never actually tried to review anything live or with anyone else for that matter. The only other time I've done it, it's been like edited and that kind of thing, but it'll be cool. So maybe and what I'm hoping we could do is once we've worked out the date time, we'll mention which fragrance it is that we are going to review, and maybe if anyone watching has a sample or wants to get a sample, they can actually contribute to the review as well in the comments, or do some live sniffing as we're smelling the thing as well. So once I've bedded down a time and day when we speak to Eve, because she's probably sleeping right now, I'll put it up on my channel and I'll post something on Instagram, and that way people, if you happen to, I will tell you, it's a reasonably easy to try fragrance from Penhaligon's, but just in case things change, I don't want to give away what it is we're testing just yet. But as soon as we confirm the time, I'll let everybody know. So, because I'm very interested in doing, what interests me the most is not so much about what I think about the scent or not, because I actually haven't properly taken any notes of it yet, but I'm actually curious to see what everyone is smelling at the same time and how different everyone's perception is. So that'll be,
I haven't got my sample yet, so
yeah, that'll be lots of fun. Yeah, so we have to wait for Cherie to get her sample as well. When do you expect to get it?
Probably Monday or Tuesday, I think.
Okay, all right. So we'll hold off for a couple of days before we so it might be next weekend, but hopefully the weekend after might be good. All right. Well, I know that Cherie wants to keep drinking alcohol, and
what are you saying? There's water in this bottle. Come on.
I'm only joking.
Although my glass of wine is sitting here, I thought, I can't drink alone. So, but now the ice is melted. I was devastated that we didn't have any red wine, so I had to go with white wine. And
okay.
It is warm here tonight, so it's okay to drink white wine tonight.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So if anyone, I don't see any new questions or anything that we haven't answered yet. Thanks everybody for contributing to the stream tonight and watching. I know we had there's more people watching than is actually commenting, but I appreciate everyone that comes and watches. All right, we might leave it there, Cherie.
Great.
What do you think?
Yeah, good idea.
We've done it. We made it to an hour again. I can't believe it.
I didn't even show you a bottle, did I?
Oh, well, do you want to show me a bottle before you go?
Yeah. So one of my more recent prized possessions from last year is a little vintage Shalimar eau de toilette.
Is that vintage?
Yeah.
I've never seen that bottle.
I'll have to put the code back. I can't remember what the date was on this one, but the code's on there, so I can look it up.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a really old eau de toilette. It smells really nice.
Have you tried like eau de cologne concentrations of Shalimar? Or have you got
Do you
one?
hold the shelf up? You can't really see it here.
Okay.
I've got the eau de Shalimar, I think. And I have the Shalimar EDT and the EDP and the initial, and then a couple of the flankers of the souffle line. So yeah, I've got a nice little stash going there. I think I'm done by. Oh yeah, and I've got the Ententes as well, but which I actually really love. This one. This is really, really strong benzoin. I like this one better. I think this is less gourmandy style than the souffle de parfum. But anyway, that's for another live or another video.
I'll this time I'll remember. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll put Cherie's link to her channel in this description straight after here, and we will see you all again soon. Thanks, Cherie.
Yes, thank you. And Chris, no, I haven't. Don't know what that is, but I'll look it up.
Okay. Oh yeah, Etat Libre d'Orange. I have heard of that one, but I haven't tried it. Nice. Troy just woke up and we're leaving.
Sorry, Troy. Oh well, go enjoy your coffee.
See you guys.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.